it's all dependent upon how many the vaccine supply and how many doses we actually get, right? So when the mayor's office called us last week and they said, we have 800 doses for you, like I was like floored. But the equity issue is really about how do you get to people that can't access the county's existing systems, the people who have tech barriers, who have language barriers, and who have transportation barriers. So you need a completely different strategy. And this shows that our strategy works by basically thinking about going into these communities and being proactive to remove as many of those barriers. What we've seen is the whiter, wealthier, the lower risk communities are the ones that are going to be the first to get online because they have the fastest internet. They can work from home and check the sites regularly, and they read and speak English. Anybody with a slow internet connection, anybody who, in the case of some of our seniors, don't know what the internet is never going to be able to navigate that system. So we have to create a system that specifically targets, how to reach those folks. And that's the best. I think that's the strategy for how to get to equity. Watching the system and the way it was kind of initially rolled out and seeing the vaccine chasers and all this other stuff, and I kept thinking, like, this isn't going to work for our communities, right? And people are going to continue to die, and that's kind of what we've been seeing is just looking at, the statistics around who's getting sick and who's dying, right? It's overwhelmingly communities of color, right? And immigrant communities and low-income communities. And so because Chinatown is one of the poorest neighborhoods in LA, we are so at risk, right? And I think because of all the language barriers, I think the numbers don't show the level of risk simply because, for example, Harvard and Pew, I think, did a survey about the impacts of COVID on different communities of color. For Asian Americans, they only did it in English, which then missed the whole, which skewed the results to make it seem like Asian Americans weren't as at high risk. But, the people who speak English tend to be more professional, tend to be higher income, tend to be tech proficient, right? If they had focused on doing it in Cantonese, for example, I think the numbers would have looked really different.
Can you talk a little bit about these misconceptions about the Asian American community? A lot of people not even thinking that they're an underserved community.
Mm-hmm. So it's incredibly diverse. I think people forget that Asia represents half the world's population, right? Like literally more than half. And so you have countries from all over the place with very different experiences as to how they get to the US and different kinds of histories. So for example, my family came here as refugees from Vietnam, and so there's a lot of, within the Vietnamese community, high rates of poverty, high rates of mental health issues, high rates of high school dropouts. Asian Americans have the biggest income gap of all racial and ethnic groups, right? So while you have the Jerry Yangs and the Yo-Yo Ma's and the tech billionaires, most of the people we work with here earn less than $19,000 a year, right? We have students who think that $25,000 a year for a family is middle class, right? They aspire to that because so many of their families work in sweatshops and restaurants under the table where they're not getting paid the minimum wage, right? And so that's who we serve, right? The people who are struggling to pay rent, who are one rent increase away from becoming homeless. There were all these COVID relief programs that got set up, this past year. Our folks couldn't access them because it was all online, right? And it was all in English, right? And so that's who we're working for, and who we're representing is the people who are being left out of the existing COVID relief efforts.
Can you tell us just a little bit about how you feel, all that work you put in, getting people the first dose, getting people the second dose. This is your third day of, a month of organization. How do you feel seeing these folks vaccinated?
I am conflicted, I will fully admit. There's the part of me that's like, why are we doing this? We're a youth organization, right? Like, there's got to be a better way. But at the same time, recognizing, like, the amount of gratitude that has been expressed to me, that has been shared with me, like, just the look on the seniors' eyes when they're like, thank you for being here. you know, like they're practically in tears. They're like, you guys are the only ones that, you know, speak Chinese. I've been trying for weeks to get a vaccine and I can't talk to anybody, you know, or I can't, the fact that you guys are here, we don't even know how to, we can't get to, you know, whether it's Dodger Stadium or Lincoln Park or wherever, you know, and the fact that we're here, and it's just, it's such a privilege to be able to kind of see, like, what, you know, experience firsthand that gratitude. Like, I don't expect it, right? Like, I'm fine with a, like, thanks. You know, like, I don't do it for gratitude, but it's just kind of like, you know, you can see, like, the amount of tension that's been released that I'm now vaccinated. I'm gonna be okay. I don't have to worry about going out to the grocery store, right? I can soon go and hug my grandkids, right? And yeah, it's just been an incredible privilege to be able to do this for our community.